Conformity is a type of social influence involving a change in belief or behavior in order to fit in with a certain group. However, the results of conformity are not always positive. So, the question stands, why do we conform? Why do we feel the need to belong? Let's take a look at some of the main characters from these 5 books to get a closer look at the effects of conformity. Feed was the story of a failing futuristic society that was controlled by large corporations. People were taught to value money, objects, and entertainment over anything else. From the beginning, Violet tries to be like Titus and his friends, although she is very different from them. Titus and his friends visit the moon for spring break, and it is here where Violet's demise begins. Ironically, Violet went to the moon to live, but the choices she made and the people she met led to her fall. As Violet became more sick, the environment around her completely darkened. Titus began to separate himself from her, and she began to lose her ability to speak and walk, all because of the feed and because she tried to conform to society as someone she was not. As Titus says, "I could see my face crying in her blank eye." These events suggest that Violet's conformity resulted in a negative atmosphere of the story. Bad Monkeys, a psychological thriller filled with plot twists and deceit that dives into the life of a washed-out woman. In this story, it is Carlotta who tries to conform to be like Jane, which only results in a turmoil. She ends up getting in trouble with her parents and even the police. In the book, Carlotta says, "I'm not supposed to talk to you, Jane. My dad thinks you're a bad influence." To which Jane replies, "I am a bad influence. That's one of the reasons why you like me." This quote suggests that as Carlotta tried to be like Jane, it only resulted in her getting in trouble with her family. Nonconformity is the opposite of conformity. It is when one fails or refuses to conform to a prevailing rule or practice. In these next 3 books, nonconformity is present. Hater. Violent, gruesome, apocalyptic. This book discusses the effects one gene can have on a society. Something that sets this book apart from the others is the resistance to conformity in the society. As everyone around Danny is becoming a hater, he tries to resist it. However, finally, all his anger and negativity take over, and he feels compelled to attack and kill Harry. As the book says, "My legs become weak with nerves as I realize that the hate has finally arrived in my home." In this case, conformity leads to murder. A Good and Happy Child was a suspenseful story which entered the world of a troubled boy. In this story, George attempts to be normal, which means following the doctor's orders of taking his medicine. However, George was also resistant to conformity. In the book, he says, "I don't like taking my pills. I told you. I'm like the Walking Dead." Once again, resistance to conformity leads to murder, as George ends up hanging Kurt. Persepolis features a rebellious Iranian girl growing up during the Islamic Revolution. In this story, a resistance to conformity is also present, and the results are evident. Marjane attempts to be different, which results in a scolding and shaming. For example, she refused to wear her veil the correct way, wore tight jeans, listened to music, along with other rebellious acts that proved she resisted conformity. As the book says, "Lower your scarf. Aren't you ashamed to wear tight jeans like these?" All of these books can relate to the invasion of the body snatchers. Both Miles and Becky tried to resist conformity, but in the end, Becky gave in to conformity and became like everyone else. In conclusion, conformity is a topic of interest. Although the outcome is not always positive, none of these books could have been complete without it.